Hello and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker. Just a couple of days ago, I did an article. I invited Bill Waddington from Tea Source, Ginkgo Sito from Life and Teacup to really talk about Heicha, or dark teas from China. So I thought after that discussion has been started, people have had a chance to kind of look at that. Maybe people are wanting to know a little bit more about dark teas. What a great time to present one. So this is a tea. This is from CamelliaSinensis in Canada, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. This tea was originally compressed into a kind of a brick shape, or a disc shape, I should say. And I fished out a few pieces that were kind of the right good size to put into my gaiwan here. So I'm adding that, and now I'm going to add my water. It's been brought to a boil. It's been cooling for about a minute or so. But the heat and the time and letting this kind of sit and steep for a while is going to be just fine for this. Add just a little bit more water. Get this out of the way and talk a little bit about this tea. As I said, from CamelliaSinensis, based in Montreal, with other locations in Quebec. Let's see. This is the LiuBao, which is the name of this type of tea, 2008. It is from Guangxi province in China, which is the traditional home of this particular type of dark tea. Again, it's a 2008. As you may have read in the article that was published just a couple of days before this publication, this video, some dark teas tend to stabilize in flavor after about 3 years, up to 6-12, I think is what Bill Waddington was saying. And Bill Waddington is looking more at Hunan dark teas. Ginkgo Sito talks about how you look for different other characteristics in other kinds of tea. Particularly, she talked about a Fu brick tea, which is from a separate area, or a separate kind of process, I should say. This particular one, which is not a Hunan, there are a lot of Hunan dark teas. It's not a Sichuan, which is in the Sichuan province, another area for dark teas. This is Guangxi one, 25 grams, available on CamelliaSinensis website currently for $5 US. So you could check that out. Not an extreme price, something that you want to explore and experiment with on your own. So going ahead and talking about this tea, the dry leaf, the wet leaf, the liquor. Like I said, this was a brick, or a pressed disc, I should say, tea, broken up into pieces. I'm breathing in, trying to draw some aromas off. There's hints. There's little bits here and there. Something came off. A little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of a cinnamon type note, but very faint, light aromas. So I'm not really going to dwell too much on that. I did, however, pull out a chunk that was part of this, that was in this bag, and you can kind of see that this has been pressed together. It looks similar to a pu'er in that sense. Similar to a pu'er in that there is some kind of fermentation. There's a process where there's a bacteria involved that's shaping the age and character, the taste and character of this tea. You can see a variety of different sizes or lengths of leaf portion, leaves or leaf portions there. But the other thing I note as I turn this over, you can also see little flecks of something kind of pale, yellow, whitish, dirty white looking cream color. Little, almost like little grains of very fine sand, but it's not, and it looks like a little bit of a fungus is starting to set up here, a little mold or something like that that's starting to get into this tea, which can again affect the age, the character of this tea. So that's something that the piece that I added into my gaiwan, I noticed also starting to have little flecks of that. Again, with some kind of dark teas, you may actually be looking for nice, healthy colonies of those kind of fungal growths on there. But you go too far. Kevin at CamelliaSinensis was telling about a person who brought in a cake of HA or dark tea to the point where he crumbled it open and this cloud of almost like spores floated out, and he had to very calmly, very delicately say, "Please take this out of my shop." He was concerned that it was going to spread through and affect other teas in his shop there. So I'm going to go ahead and go ahead and pour this tea rather. I should have had enough time. Now my tea has not fully loosened up, like a oolong. You steep it a while, and that bald, tight, really raw oolong can unfurl. This one is still fairly compact as I look at it here, but I'm going to go ahead and pour anyway. The liquor has a nice color to it, so something has come out of this tea. I'm going to go ahead and give this a smell while it's still nice and warm. Yes, it does have this kind of earthy, and at first sniff, you may, if you're familiar with pu'ers, you may think, oh, this is very close to a pu'er. And yes, I've had some pu'ers, although this one is milder than a lot of pu'ers. It has a bit of a woody sweetness to it as compared to some pu'ers I've come across. It's where some pu'ers have more of a, think of forest in autumn, wet leaves on the ground. There's that sugar, those sugars in the leaves that are coming out. This one is more of a sweet bark, a sweet wood type note of those, in comparing those two. Pulling out this, because it really hasn't loosened up a lot, there's not going to be a whole lot to show. I mean, I could kind of pinch this. Yeah, I can pinch this. It is kind of spongy at this point. I could kind of press and force this into to loosen up, to break up a little bit, and little pieces will fall off here and there. And when you do that, I see some stem pieces. I see leaf portions. Pulling out just a wee bit more that was down here in the gaiwan. Also leaf portions, not full intact leaves. I don't see needles. I see parts of more mature leaves, not small young leaves like you would for a green tea. So, having done that, something's coming out a little bit close to raw vanilla bean, not any kind of vanilla flavoring so much as kind of a raw vanilla bean. There's a hint of that. Looking at this, this can look like, I mean, if you're looking purely at the liquor, you might think, this is some other Chinese term, red tea, common English term, black tea. It looks very similar to something like that, but aromas are a little bit different. They're still fairly light, but it's not the same as the tannin notes that you can often get in a traditional English term use of the word black tea. Nice color as I look down through. I see some kind of oils that are already resting on top of the liquor here. This particular one, again, not heavily pronounced character, aroma, and taste there. What I get is raw, uncooked noodle. I think Chinese, Asian type noodles there, where it has a bit of a kind of a starchy type, not so much of the rich Italian wheat semolina pasta type notes, but this is more, there's something that's just kind of raw pasta, raw Asian noodle there. Texture's light. Not a lot of heavy, not a lot of smoothness there. It's not rough. It doesn't. It's towards the back. It goes a little bit more towards a light minerally, watery type texture there. Mineral water type feel to it. But in the front, it hints at. It's got some almost fine light potential for a very faint silken texture. With age, this might extend out and get fuller and become more than that. Okay, but because it's a younger, and that's the other thing. It's going to be a challenge. It may be a challenge. I'll put it that way. It may be a challenge to find the right age of some dark teas. There was a kind of a pu'er bubble that extended and reached out, branched out into some dark teas, but perhaps more teas that have higher volumes of production. Hunan teas, some of your Sichuan teas, you may be able to find something that's aged more and that is still available at a reasonable price there too. This tasting, previous off-camera tastings, yes, quite similar. There are nuances there that I think can grow into becoming more stronger, richer, fuller. Think $6 Million Man. There is something there, but you can make it, as they said, better, stronger, faster, that type thing. So when I look at this tea as it is, and kind of weighting it a little bit towards potential, I would give this tea. This is going to be tough. I'm predicting what can happen here. I would probably give this tea a safe middle 90. Like I said, some things can happen, some good things can happen, probably will happen. If you are getting a tea like this and you want to kind of experiment or keep it for a more extended period and see what happens, a clay Yixing teapot like a tea caddy or storage vessel like this can be handy. The clay is porous. The lid allows some airflow. It breathes with the environment, and you want to, especially if you're trying to get some kind of fungal activity there, you want something that's going to react and adapt with the environment, some breathing to take place, some moisture, humidity interaction there, flowing in and out, not necessarily trapped at one level or the other. So come back to Walker Tea Review to find out about HA, other unique and hopefully new experiences as well.